Na 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 na. Let baby rock. Let baby rock. Drink responsibly, kids. But today we are here to chat about all the books I DNF'd in 2025. As you know, I am the self-proclaimed queen of DNFing. It's one of my favorite things to do. I hold no restraint against DNFing. If I get bored with a book, DNF. So easy. No qualms with setting a book down and never looking at it again. I thought it'd be fun to tier rank all of the books that I set down and did not finish in the year of 2025. There is like a decent handful, and I'm almost positive there are some missing from this list. This is just all the ones that I tracked in Storygraph. With that noted, let's talk about my tiers. Okay, y'all, here's the thing. I have the brain of a prepubescent teenage boy. Sometimes. If you don't know, first and foremost, DNF just means did not finish. And there's kind of like two standard categories when it comes to DNFing. There's like the soft DNF, and then there's the hard DNF. And my brain, when I was typing it up, I was like, oh yeah, soft, hard, oops. And then I was like, there should be another category. So let's address these. We have a hard DNF, which means you set it down and you have zero intention of ever picking that book up ever again. Like, you set it down and you're like, no thanks, I'm good, see you never. And then there's the chub tier. Okay, and the chub tier means there was like intention behind setting down the book, and I'm still humming and hawing over whether or not I ever want to revisit the book. Makes sense. Yes? Yes. Then there's the soft DNF, which is just I set down the book because maybe I wasn't in the right mood to read it. I do eventually want to return to the book. It's just things weren't vibing. Things weren't jiving when I first picked up the book and started reading it. And then there's the oops. I don't know if this is a Kayla issue or if this is a universal issue. So let me know in the comments down below if you also do this. But do you ever just like pick up a book, you start reading it, and then for some reason like you kind of lose track that you were even reading that book in the first place? And so you just like set it down and it just is lost to the abyss. Cool, because I do that all the time. So that's what the oops tier is for. The oops tier is all like, I didn't mean to, but it did happen. With all that noted, as you can see, we have our bottom section right here, which are all the books that I DNF'd, and I'm gonna give explanation to all of them, of course, because that's what we do over here. We yap about our thoughts, feelings, and opinions on all storytelling formats. And if that sounds at all interesting to you and you're brand new here, or if you're just like, look at my channel and you see that you aren't subscribed because 80% of you watch my videos are not subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button because I would love for you guys to stick around to see all the chaos that we get into this year. Anyways, let's get into the books. Viewer discretion is advised. This video does contain spoilers. So to start, we have Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. Oh my god, y'all. This was so bizarre. And the crazy thing is, I remember seeing so many people being like, oh my god, this book is so amazing. I love it so much. It's the greatest thing ever. It's just gonna change your world views for the rest of your life. And I see the road that the book was eventually gonna take you down, but it was so bizarre. And I remember kind of like the thing that made me officially decide to set the book down was there was like this gathering and the group was doing this weird chant, and it was like, I'm pretty sure screaming orgy over and over and over and over again. My tier rankings are very, they align with this a lot, but it felt like at the very end of the chanting that was going on, it was like the climax in more ways than one. And then there was also talk about like child erotic play. Okay, if you guys read this book and you thought it was phenomenal, please, like, give me your reasonings, because that part alone, like, creeped me the fuck out. So anyways, if you couldn't tell by my explanation of kind of what was going on in this book and why I DNF'd it, easy. so easy, such an easy hard DNF. I have zero intention of ever picking that back up, but I will never punish myself with that ever again. This book will bury me by Ashley Winstead. I'm not gonna lie, I think this was just like wrong place, wrong time type of thing. I started it and I just wasn't committed to it. It also deals with, I believe, the passing of the main character's father. And while it's been a couple of years, I lost my father very unexpectedly. So just, I don't know. I don't think I was in the right headspace to read that book. I heard it's really good and it does delve into grief and relationships and connections phenomenally. I started it and I was just like, I'm good. I'm good. But it is a book I do want to revisit because I actually do like Ashley Winstead's work. The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz. It was kind of like Brave New World. It got to like this really weird part where things got a little oddly, inappropriately erotic. Also, so the story's about this woman who recently kind of like fell out of a relationship with her best friend. It turns out our main character was like in love with her best friend, and there was like just weird tension and energy around the two of them, but they were both like up and coming authors. Our main character, she wasn't getting picked up, but her best friend like got a book deal, was rising star of her time. And the main character ends up getting accepted into this writing retreat for up and coming authors. It just so happens that somehow the ex-best friend also got accepted. And then like this weird paranormal stuff started happening. I think I got like 40%, almost 50% all the way into the book. And I was just like, it just really got weird with like the erotic play that was happening in it. And so yeah, this is definitely a hard DNF. I did ultimately actually end up reading the last 2 chapters of the book. And I'm glad I did because I ultimately wasn't even like that intrigued by the ending of the book. I was like, oh no, I'm glad I set this book down. Next, we have Love, Pamela, which is the biography of Pamela Anderson. This one's a chub, potentially even a hard DNF, because I started it, I think I got 30% of the way into it, and we were still talking about her childhood at that point. And I'm like, well, I love that you're really delving into your life and times. You've also lived such a long life and such an interesting, fascinating life that it feels kind of weird that at 30% we're still talking about your childhood. I wasn't really digging it. I do think Pam is the one who narrates her book, so that's always nice. I love when the actual person is the one who narrates the audiobook. But yeah, I'm not sure, honestly, if I would ever return to Love, Pamela. I feel so ridiculous DNFing this book. This is a graphic novel, pretty short, all things considered, minimal to no like words on the page. It's solely pictures, and I think I was spending too much time like analyzing the pictures to try and figure out generally what was going on. But Pixels of You started out as like, I think it's a person who was taking pictures, there was an art studio, there was an art gallery, and goes home, and I think their parents are like robots. It was bizarre, and that's definitely a hard DNF. I was just like, I'm just not interested in reading a book that literally has no words in it. Next, we have The Love of My Life by Rosie Walsh. To be frank with you, I couldn't really give you a synopsis of this book. I just know that the main character was a woman. She's married, has a kid at that point. I know a kid ends up being in the story at some point. I just don't remember if it was like at the beginning there's a kid. And I'm pretty sure the main character has cancer. Her husband's always been there by her side, loving her, all that jazz. And then somehow like an old flame comes into the picture. Like she starts to remember an old flame, or he made his way. I don't remember what exactly happened. I just remember not loving the vibes of the story. So I DNF'd it. And this is going to be a hard DNF. I think this is another book where I kind of like read ahead to kind of see what ultimately ended up happening at the end. Because sometimes I'll do that. If I DNF a book and I don't really have any intention of returning into it, I'll like just look at the last chapter or two And this was one of the ones where they all live happily ever after, but there's just like this weird gray tumultuous area, and I really didn't care to read about cheaters. I think I had also read a couple other books around the same time as The Love of My Life that had cheating and infidelity in it, and I realized I don't love that kind of storyline. It's not my cup of tea. It makes me too angry, and I don't mind getting angry and frustrated at characters, but when it comes to like stepping outside the bounds of a relationship, I'm just like, why don't you just break up with them? Like, just leave them. Just what? That's I hate it. As someone who has been cheated on, I hate it. I hate infidelity. Nope, no thank you. The House of My Mother by Sherry Frankie. This is the daughter of Rosie Frankie. If you have no idea who, not Rosie, what's her name? Ruby Frankie. If you have no idea who Ruby Frankie is, she was a prolific family vlogger back in like the heyday of family vlogging, and her channel was called 8 Passengers. Featured all her kids, Mormon family, and it turns out that eventually Ruby and someone else that they were living with, her young children and her were living with, they were neglecting and abusing the children to the point where one of the younger boys escaped the house. And when he showed up to a nearby neighbor's house to try and get water, he wasn't even trying to get help to like escape. He was just like, I'm hungry and thirsty. Can you help me with that? He was malnourished. He had clear rope marks on his wrists and ankles. Absolutely devastating. So The House of My Mother by Sherry Frankie delves into kind of like the life of being the child of a family vlogger. This was a book, I think, honestly, this was like an oops DNF, to be frank with you. I was listening to the audiobook and I think I got maybe a chapter or two in, and then I just forgot that I had started the audiobook. It is a story I wouldn't mind delving into at some point again. Next we have Our Infinite Fates by Laura Stevens. This is, I don't know where to put this one, to be honest with you. I still own it. I'm holding on to it. A part of me wants this to be a hard DNF. Like, I truly don't think I will ever return back to this book, but I'm gonna put it in Chub tier for now because there is potential for it. One of the main reasons that I DNF'd it was it started to feel like Groundhog's Day. Okay, the next book is going to be All the Missing Girls by Megan Miranda. I set this book down because it had this interesting timeline where there is this event that occurs where someone is, I believe, found dead. And so we start the book where it was like our main character gets a letter from her father being like, you need to come here. I talked to her or something, yada, yada, yada. And so we have this chapter where she shows up to the town. She's saying hi to everyone. So this is kind of like day one, we'll say. And then all of a sudden, we're thrown to day 15. And then every chapter, we go back a day. So we go 15, day 14, day 13, day 12. And I'm just like, oh my God, I don't care. And this was another book where I skipped to the end to kind of see what happened. So this is a hard DNF. I just really did not like the timeline layout of it. And ultimately, like, the end result of the book was so annoying. This was another book that I was reading around the same time as The Love of My Life. And this was another one where there was infidelity. And I was just like, I don't care. Here in the Dark by Alexis Solosky could have been interesting, but I really did not like the main character. And at first I was like, okay, maybe I can get like past the main character and how annoyed I am with her. But ultimately it started getting to a point where I was just bored. And to be frank, I don't even recall what this book was about. I just remember really disliking the main character. Okay, next we have Big in Sweden by Sally Eleanor. This is a book I currently own. And it is a book I intentionally DNF'd. There was a time period where all the books I was reading was having some sort of the questionable behavior by the main character who was in a relationship. And that was what was happening in Big in Sweden. I don't know if I want to put it in hard or job. I think I'm going to put it in hard, because while I still own the book, I doubt I'll ever return back to it. Because, yeah, the main character, I was not vibing with her at all. She was so insufferable. The gist of this book is that we have this woman, her friend is like, hey, there's this Swedish TV show that's looking for Americans who have Swedish lineage to come to Sweden and be in like this competition show. She signs up for it. She's like, yeah, sure, why not? I'll sign up for it. Gets the call to interview. She does the interview and then pretty much gets the call to like, hey, you're accepted. It isn't until she gets the call of, hey, you're accepted, that she tells her boyfriend that she's going to be gone for an extended period of time filming this and they won't have any contact. And he's like, that's cool and all, but why didn't you tell me about this sooner? Because we still have like responsibilities and bills to pay, and how are we gonna handle that? And she's pretty much just like, I mean, I'm gonna do this thing and there's no, you're not talking me out of it. So she pretty much just like leaves. He had some valid points and you're just not even gonna talk to him about it. And so they kind of leave on like this weird note of like, okay. And then she ends up meeting, I think, this cameraman or something, and she starts like hardcore flirting with him. And I'm just like, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. No, thank you. Next we have You Weren't Meant to Be Human by Andrew Joseph White. This is definitely a hard DNF. I actually thought I would really enjoy this book. I was so excited about this book when I read the synopsis of it, but then I started actually reading the book, and I think it was just the prose I was not jiving with, and you're just kind of like thrown into the story. And sometimes being thrown into a story works, and sometimes being thrown into a story doesn't work. And this was one of the books for me personally, it did not work. I would have liked a little bit more insight, because literally the scene we're thrown into is our main character just getting railed. They don't really seem to be enjoying it, but it is consensual. It was just a bizarre way to start a story. I just kind of was like thrown off from it from like the very first chapter, and I tried to like get past that, but it just, I just wasn't digging it. It wasn't my cup of tea. And I have zero intention to ever return to it, personally. Next is the Christmas Murder Game. I'm so glad I DNF'd this book. This is a hard DNF. So the funny thing is, this book is about a family who every year they host Christmas games, and pretty much whoever wins the game gets like an extra special Christmas present. This year, all of the children in the family are all adults now. All of the parental figures have passed away at this point. Like the last remaining parental figure has passed away. It was the aunt. And in her will and testament, she pretty much was like, hey, I want everyone to return for Christmas and you're going to play the Christmas games. But this time, whoever wins the games wins pretty much the fortune. You win this giant house mansion situation. You win the fortune. You win it all. You get everything. But what's supposed to be happening is like once they start playing the games, people end up dying. So they're like, who the fuck is the killer? Because it's only us in this house. One, maybe two staff member, and that's it. However, spoiler if you have any intention of reading this game. Because I DNF'd this book, one of my girlfriends, she works at a school, and in the staff lounge, they have like a little free little library for the staff to choose from. So I've been giving her my books to put in this staff lounge free little library. And she was like, hey, I read the Christmas Murder Game. What did you think about it? And I was like, I DNF'd that book. I had no interest in finishing it because I was 40% of the way through the book and they had only done one game and no one had died yet. She's like, oh, yeah, no, I didn't like it either. And I was like, okay, cool. She finished it. So I was like, what ended up happening? And she's like, yeah, everyone died at the very, no, there was no build up to people dying. She just said everyone died at the very end. I was like, everyone? And I don't remember if like there was one person left or not. She was like, yeah, our main character died. I was like, cool. I'm so glad I set this book down. So glad I set this book down. The next book I DNF'd was Meddling Kids by Edgar Cantero. This is also a hard DNF. I just wasn't jiving with it. It was supposed to be like this pseudo Scooby-Doo situation where you had a bunch of kids who solved a murder. They had their meddling dog. And to be so totally for real with you, my favorite character of the whole book was Toby, who is the dog. Dead cattail assassins. This is like kind of this is in a weird gray area where it's kind of an intentional DNF, but it was also kind of an oops because I just like picked up another book at the same time that I started reading The Dead Cattail's Assassin. I think I'm going to put this in the soft DNF pile because I do intend on returning to it. I think at the time it just wasn't it wasn't the right time for me to start the book. It is a novella, so it should be a quick read, all things considered. Weather Girl by Rachel Lynn Solomon. This was a hard DNF. I actually got pretty far into this book. I think I got 60%, 70% into this book, and it just got to the point where I'm like, I know exactly what's going to happen, and I just don't care. Oh, it had a third act breakup. This was another book that I kind of skimmed to the end to see what was going on with everyone. It had third act breakup. If you know, you know. I hate third act breakups. They are like the bane of my existence when it comes to romance books. I feel like romance books should not have third act breakups because the reality is that the characters get together in like the last 2 chapters of the book, and I hate that rushed feeling. I'd rather just have like a happy, healthy, consistent relationship throughout. Or if you're gonna have some sort of turbulence, have it be like at the halfway point. And it's always like miscommunication, which is the worst. Ugh, gross. Okay, Pride and Prejudice in Space. This was actually an ARC I received. And I started reading the ARC, but it was literally like, I've read Pride and Prejudice. It was literally like Pride and Prejudice. Like, you copy and pasted the whole transcript of Pride and Prejudice, and then you just inserted, like, space stuff into it. It was a weird one. This is definitely a hard DNF for me. Next, we have We Were Never Here by Andrea Bartz. This is a situation where 2 friends go on a vacation together. Every year, they go on a vacation together. And one year, they go on vacation together, and our main character ends up accidentally killing a guy. Instead of like reporting it to authorities, turning themselves in, the best friend of our main character is like, oh, it's fine. We'll just hide the body. It's fine. No big deal. So they do that. And obviously that weighs heavy on our main character. And she presumes that it also weighs heavy on her best friend. They go on vacation again. And this time the best friend ends up some dude. Our main character is all like, she doesn't seem frazzled or upset about it at all, almost as if it was intentional and not an accident, because our main character, it was an accident what ended up happening to the guy that she killed. But she was like, I don't think my friend accidentally killed this guy. And then we start to learn more and more things about the best friend. And I called it from the rip. I'm like, she's just killing everyone around you because she wants you as her one true person. She wants you as her best friend. I was right. She pretty much killed everyone. She killed her own family, like her mom and dad, in a fire. She killed her best, like it was wild. And the fact that I literally called it, I think within chapter 3, I was like, it's the best friend who's just killing everyone. She's like a serial killer. And yeah. So that is a hard DNF. And our last and final book is The Life Adventures of Santa Claus. I read this during a 24-hour readathon. It was the very last book that I was reading. It was cute. It was all right. I think I got like 40% of the way through the book. It's a pretty quick book, and while I could easily finish it, honestly, I don't really have any intention of ever returning to it and finishing it. That is going in the hard DNF pile. I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually kind of surprised at how many hard DNFs are in here. I thought I would have a lot more oops, for sure. I thought I had a lot more oops, and it could be that I have a lot more oops. I just didn't track them in Storygraph, which is where I track all my reading. Those are all the books I DNF'd in 2025. And this is just your friendly reminder that you can DNF books. It's okay to set down a book if you just aren't feeling it. I feel like I see so many times people like forcing themselves to finish a book, and I'm just like, this isn't a movie. This isn't 3 hours that you're, at most, hopefully 3 hours that you're committing to something to have an unsatisfactory ending. And you also hear so often of people forcing themselves to read books and then hating the book, falling into a reading slump. It's like, it's not worth it. Like, if you are not feeling a book, just set it down, move on to something else. That is my wise words of wisdoms for the day. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. Let me know in the comments down below, first and foremost, do you DNF books? And secondly, what is kind of like the most shocking book you DNF'd this year? For me, honestly, I feel like Brave New World is the one that would be like, oh my God, I can't believe you DNF'd that book. It's so great. Truly, I really want to know from people who like that book, like, why they like that book. Did it kind of go over your head, all the weird eroticism that's in that book? Or did you get to a certain point where that kind of stops? You know, every book has the moral of the story is, you know, a situation. Like, does it have something like that where you kind of forgot all the weird shit that happened at the very beginning? Because again, child erotic play blew my mind, especially in this world where they're like, ugh, people used to have sex to procreate. Like, they were disgusted by that. But like, child erotic play, totally kosher. Anyways, I will see you guys in the next video. Until next time.